there was a man named Zachariah and his wife Anna. And we're going to find out they worked in the church. When their baby was 8 days old, Elizabeth and her husband Zachariah took the baby to the temple. It was time to give the baby a name. Oh, I got to refilm that. I said that wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Elizabeth. I'm thinking of Annie and Simeon. So, okay. Hold on. Okay. Now we are going to find out what happens to Elizabeth's baby and her husband Zachariah as they take their son to the temple. When their baby boy was just 8 days old, Elizabeth and her husband Zachariah took the baby to the temple. It was time to give the baby a name. They decided the name John. Shh, Elizabeth said, "Baby John is sleeping." But Zachariah couldn't keep quiet. Even if John was sleeping, Zachariah had to share the words of God gave him with all the people in the temple. Zachariah was so excited, he sang the good news from God. Zachariah's song told about two babies, John and Jesus. First, Zachariah sang about Jesus. Jesus is coming. Jesus will bring a new beginning. Jesus will turn enemies into friends. Jesus will give us the courage to do good things. Suddenly, the baby John woke up and began to fuss. Then Zachariah sang about John. You, John, will be a special friend of Jesus. You will help people get ready for Jesus by baptizing them. You will even baptize Jesus someday. You will share the news far and wide, and Jesus will come to help and care for us. Zachariah's song acted as a lullaby for his son. Soon John fell back to sleep. He dreamed of the days that were ahead. Shh, Elizabeth said. Baby John is sleeping. It's time to take him home. So Elizabeth and Zachariah took the sleeping baby John back home. Now we are getting to the part about where Jesus is born. We have to go to Bethlehem, Joseph told Mary. Emperor Augustus has ordered that all the people need to be enrolled. But Joseph, Mary said, what about our baby? He will be born soon. We will go slowly, Mary. Bethlehem will be crowded. We need to leave now. So Mary and Joseph journeyed to Bethlehem, the city of David, to be counted, along with all the other people. It was cold when they arrived. Joseph knocked on many doors, looking for a room, but everyone said no. Finally, an innkeeper answered the door. I have no room, the innkeeper said, but you can stay in the little stable in the back. It's warm and hay is fresh. Joseph, Mary said, I think it's time for the baby to come. That night, Mary gave birth to Jesus. She laid him in a manger. The animals kept them warm as they waited for morning. Outside of Bethlehem, shepherds watched their sheep in the hills. Suddenly, an angel appeared. The shepherds looked up at the bright sky. Don't be afraid, the angel said. I bring wonderful news. The child God promised was born tonight. The shepherds listened in amazement. The twinkling stars seemed to echo each of the angel's words. The angel continued, Go to Bethlehem. You will find the child laying in a bed of hay. Suddenly, many angels filled the heavens. They sang together, Glory to God in the highest, and peace to all the people on earth. Let's hurry, the shepherds said. The angels said the child was born tonight. But what about the sheep? Another shepherd asked. Let the angels watch them, the youngest shepherd said. Yes, let the angels watch them. The shepherds happily hurried to Bethlehem. The angel was right. The shepherds found the baby Jesus asleep on a bed of hay. They told Mary and Joseph all that the angel had said. The angel said the baby is the Messiah, the promised one. He is the one we have waited for, they explained. But this is a stable. Would God's son be born here among the animals? Moo, said the cow. Ba, said the sheep. Coo, said the dove. Mary smiled. They knew that Jesus was Emmanuel, God with us. Later the shepherds returned to their sheep, praising God for all they had seen and heard. Jesus was born. Now, this kind of moves ahead. They think Jesus was about 2 years old about the time the wise men came. Because the wise men traveled from the east, so it took a little time for them to get there. But they think he might have been, either they had been in a home or something by that time, but we're not sure. On a cool, cooler evening, 3 wise men looked into the night sky and saw a bright star. The wise men had been waiting for someone important to come into the world. They were waiting for a king. They knew what the star was, a sign from God. The star is a sign that the king has been born. The shortest one said, "We will follow that star and find him," the tallest one said. "Pack our bags," the middle one said. And they all left their homes and traveled to meet this new baby king. They wanted to worship him and give him gifts. Along the way, they stopped and visited King Herod, the ruler of the land. "We are following the star to find the baby king," they told King Herod. "Do you know where he is?" When King Herod heard the baby king had been born, he was afraid. He thought the baby would grow up and take over. Then Herod wouldn't be the king anymore. So King Herod spoke to the wise men. He pretended to be nice. Herod told the wise men, "I would like to meet the baby king. Why don't you go and find him and come back here and tell me where he is? Then I can go and worship him too." The wise men kept following the star to find the baby. They finally found Jesus, Mary and Joseph in Bethlehem. They were quiet, so they wouldn't wake baby Jesus beside his bed. He was so tiny. They kissed his little cheek. "Sleep well, little one," they said, and they left him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Those are very expensive gifts. Those gifts were for a king. Later, the wise men decided it was time to go home. They were planning to tell King Herod where they found the baby Jesus, but God sent an angel to them in a dream. The angel told them that King Herod was dangerous, so they went home in a different way instead. Jesus was indeed a newborn baby king who surprised the wise men and frightened King Herod. Jesus was God's promise, born for us, a gift for all the people. Now last, this is a story about Simeon and Anna. And they worked in the temple, and Simeon wanted to meet the baby Jesus. There was an old man named Simeon who lived in Jerusalem. Simeon loved God. He knew God's words and believed God's promises. God made a promise to Simeon. God promised Simeon that he would not die until he saw the person God was sending to save the whole world. One day, Simeon went to the temple. The temple was very crowded. Many people were there. Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus were there too. Simeon looked around. When Simeon saw the baby Jesus, he got very excited. Could Jesus be the one? Simeon pointed at baby Jesus and asked, "Mary, may I hold him?" Mary let him hold him carefully. Simeon carefully picked up baby Jesus and began praising God.